Why the heck do so many Asian women not want to date Asian guys? I'm white female and from the UK. I spent 3 years living and working in Malaysia. I can honestly say the majority of the Malay girls I made friends with preferred to date European or American guys. I think a lot was due to the thought of getting married and being able to move to Europe, US. Pretty much every Asian driver I spoke with seemed to be saving money to send their children to university in the UK. It seemed to be very aspirational. Throwaway because I'm going to be very honest. I'm an East Asian woman who grew up in the US. I've only dated Asian men my whole life. But I've been fascinated with this topic as well. There's a lot of hostility between Asian men and women in general when it comes to relationships, especially from a racial perspective. So I've read a lot of research articles and news articles and internet discussions on this topic. A lot of Asian women see dating white men as a way to gain status and clout. This is related to how people in Asian countries sometimes put white people on a pedestal and how white people have the most prestige and social clout in America or other diverse countries. Dating a white guy is more desirable and makes you more successful compared to other, plain, Asian girls who could only attract the most predictable race possible, Asian men. White-centered pop culture dominates a lot of countries, especially in America. A lot of Asian girls grow up seeing romantic white guys in rom-coms or TV shows and they romanticize white men because of that. Edit. I will add that I fully support recent efforts to have more Asian male leads and other characters of color who are leading men in pop culture and romance movies, TV. This just shows that POC are just as multifaceted and attractive as white people, which is simply a fact of life. Asian men, especially those who live in Asian countries, have a bad track record of sexism. Misogyny is often rooted in these cultures. I have spent significant amounts of time in an Asian country, and I know from what my family tells me. Look at how Chinese people aborted millions of daughters. One-child policy, and their gender imbalance. A lot of Asian countries have terrible rates of sex crimes and violence against women. A lot of domestic abuse and dating abuse. Division of labor in the household and childcare is very bad for women. A lot of women, including a lot that I personally know, are very frustrated with sexism in Asia, from Asian men, and they want to pick men from cultures who have a generally better understanding of gender equality. Some Asian women in America and similar countries grow up in white-majority neighborhoods and feel like the supply is only white people, so they become used to only pursuing white people. A lot of white men fetishize Asian women and have yellow fever. Some Asian women, like this attention and decide to respond positively to the people who show interest to them. Just simple attraction. Some people are only attracted to certain races. Push from parents to go after more socially desirable men, i.e. white men. I've talked to a lot of Asian women whose parents told them that marrying white guys will bring them clout and will allow them to climb the social ladder. Some people, both men and women, and from all races, have a fascination with having multiracial kids, i.e. white plus what they are, because they really like Eurocentric features. Like other commenters have said, low-income women in Asia might want to marry a white man to immigrate to a wealthier country. On the internet, there's been a lot of pushback from Asian men. A lot of Asian men in white-majority countries like America, Canada, etc. really hate Asian female plus white male AFWM couples because of the reasons I listed above. So there's been a small trend of Asian guys specifically trying to date white women for similar reasons I listed above. Getting a white woman gets you clout. It's a way to get even with Asian women, etc. It's a toxic and bewildering situation all around. / Edit a few hours later. I've read some people say I'm biased against Asian men and blatantly favoring Asian women. This is not true. I tried to explain the wide variety of reasons some Asian women might have for pursuing white men, including both good and bad reasons. I'm trying to paint a truthful portrait. Also, I was writing the last part about Asian men quickly, so I glossed over many details. I apologize for that. I already wrote a long comment, so I was just giving a brief overview of how some Asian men have responded to the phenomenons above. I want to emphasize that only some and radical types of Asian men have a desire to go after white women specifically because they dislike AFWM pairings. I've also met many kind Asian men with respectful values about all races and healthy views on relationships. Like my Asian boyfriend. I was just explaining how some people dislike the specific pairing of AFWM. I hope that clears things up. I am also aware that it might look like I'm bashing on Asian women and I'm a self-hating Asian woman. This is also just blatantly false. The op asked about a specific and intriguing thing that happens, so I was responding to that. A lot of my Asian female friends date Asian men. Some date men from all races, etc. The world is a big place and Asian women have all sorts of different preferences. Most Asian men and women are normal people and many of them probably have good intentions. I'm a half Filipino, half white guy. Every single half Filipino I know has a white dad who was in the military. It's kind of funny actually. Man shrugging, medium light skin tone. Edit. Actually know one family that's half Filipino, half black. Dad's still military though, lol. I can't speak for all, but I know, particularly in the Philippines, there is a literal industry based on pretty women forming relationships with foreign men with the intention of getting money for their family. When I was stationed in Hawaii, I heard multiple tales of men at our station who had met a woman online or on shore leave, went through an expensive dating and engagement phase, were married 10 years, then divorced once she could claim independent citizenship, only to find out she had a husband and kids back home all along. So that "I don't even date Asian guys" line might be for real, but sometimes it might not be what it seems. Great question. Why do so many Asian gay guys not want to date other Asian guys? I'm a Filipino and this has been a thing since before I was born. 90s. I remember my aunties who were still single when I was young putting mestizas on a higher pedestal from an attraction level point of view. Mestizo means being mixed or having certain attractive features from our Spanish bloodline, aka whiteness. I always thought it was demeaning of our own beauty. I'm South Asian, Indian, and I used to swipe left on any Asian girl I saw. Korean, Chinese, Japanese, Thai, because I thought they generally only date white guys, and wouldn't want to date Asian guys. And definitely not South Asian or Indian guys. Colorism in Asia is a big thing. Then one day I decided, what the heck? I'll just swipe right on them if I find them attractive. Lo and behold, I matched with a Filipina who is now my girlfriend. It's my first time ever dating someone whose parents also came from a third world country, since I mostly dated white women before. It's insane how much we have in common, and how better suited she is for me than anyone else I dated. Having similar upbringings and a shared experience of growing up in America as second generation is paramount. I think I underestimated and minimized how much it could have mattered. If you're talking about Asian girls in Asia, then they want white guys to marry and bring them back to the US. It's pretty straightforward, especially if they come from a third world country. It's similar with Eastern European girls. That's the main reason a below average, old And poor white guy can get someone young and attractive. Can't blame the girl for using what she has to get a better life. If they were born anywhere else, that's a whole other topic, but Op was specifically asking about Asian girls in Asia. I hate to say it, but as someone with family from the Phils, Filipino culture is very brainwashed to look up to European features. They'll never admit it, but Filipino celebrities all have light skin, whilst darker skin is seen as a link to poverty. Not to mention you can go to the convenience stores there and buy skin whitening creams. It really is a sad thing, but they see themselves as inferiors. As a sea woman married to a white man, this is my perspective. I used to date all kind of men, mostly Asians, when I was younger. The thing that makes Asian men less attractive to me is not anything superficial like looks etc., but the cultural expectations. Not to generalize, but most Asian men are raised like little kings of the house. Their mommies think nobody will ever be good enough for them. So they do grow up to have high standards for their SOs, i.e. bigger Asian women I know have a hard time finding and dating Asian men. Not only standards on look, but on morals as well. For example, friend met dude when they were bridesmaid, groomsmen in a wedding. They hung out a bunch of times. So it wasn't like a rondo you hooked up W at a wedding. One time they Netflix and chilled and he made a move to finger her. She liked him so went with it. Next day he acted all cold and basically ignored her. Reason? He said she was too easy. The absolute hypocrisy. Gag. Dating and marrying Asian men makes you beholden to his family, especially his mom. Applicable more in Asia than Asian American families probably. There are movies and TV shows based on this very common dynamic of dill, daughter. My own mom was made miserable by my grandmother until she popped out my brother. And my brother is the little lord that is 1000% more coddled. So knowing all this, I don't feel attraction to Asian men because some of them are not that manly. Because the ingrained misogynistic culture had conditioned them to be both clueless and entitled. To be fair, how could they be any different? My parents don't want my brother to even take a taxi by himself at 18 when I rode my bike to school. At 16, my grandfather told his grandsons not to swim in the deep end. Fuck the granddaughters, I guess. Now that my brother is living by himself, my mom would always tell me to keep an eye out on who he's dating and report back on whether she's suitable, so they can intervene if not, etc. This culture seriously hurts both Asian men and women. Rant over. I live in the US and my girlfriend is fully Vietnamese and is first generation. From what she has told me, she absolutely did not want to feel pressured to live a traditional lifestyle, and even though she might meet someone who is not traditional, their family could be more traditional. Also, from what she has told me, a more traditional lifestyle would be the wife doing all the chores, taking care of the kids, and working a job. She has cut off most of her family as she was forced to work at an early age and has been exploited by most of her family for cheap labor and being responsible for her little sister and the bills of her household. This is just going off what she has told me. I am a white guy and we have talked extensively about what we want our future to look like and how to balance the chores between us. I keep hearing the same thing. I agree with those who say it's the lifestyle that they are attracted to. Okay, so my answer won't help a lot, and keep in mind my answer comes from being in Southeast Asia over a long period of time, and from getting this a lot. Please note this ain't all Asian women, but just the ones I had interactions with. So in Thailand, Philippines, I came across quite a few that won't date Asian men because Asian men are seen either as lazy, constantly getting drunk, trying having another GF mistress on the side. This comes up quite a bit. However, other areas, some Asian women won't date Korean men Not to judge, but the way I was told was Koreans look down on other Asians. See other Asians as basically Mexicans of Asia. Do you note though overseas I did see and met Asian couples together, so it's not entirely true though. I think a lot of times it deals with the Asian woman past experiences as well. Weird. Almost all Asian women I know only date Asian guys. Your comment on the Filipino girl was interesting to me just because I used to date a Filipino guy. For a little bit. Who had let's say a lot of internalized racism and self-hate it seemed. He said he only dates blonde white women. I asked if it just coincidentally turned out that way or if he makes a point to only date blonde white women. He said he didn't want to date a Filipino woman because they could be distant cousins or something. Which is also a sentiment I've heard echoed among other Filipinos anyway. But he liked blondes so much because extremely European features were what was always described to him as being the most beautiful. And he grew up being told he was ugly. So he felt having a blonde on his arm would validate himself to the world. But I don't see you as like a trophy or anything. Quote. When I pushed him to think about the implications of that a little more, he was extremely resistant. He insisted he couldn't help who he was attracted to. Which is true. I was just asking him to consider why he could only find himself attracted to blondies. He would have none of it. Guess why we didn't last long? I am a black and my girlfriend is Bengali. To put it simply, her parent won't accept or even want to hear about me. Shockingly, her cousin started dating white guy and within a couple of months he was accepted. I also find out that a number of people in her family are less respected because their skin tone is darker than others. In the US at least. From what she explained to me, being in a white group or look lighter skin means you are more successful and more beautiful. Additionally, will have more opportunities and be more respected. Needless to say, neither of these perspectives is true. Until my current GF, I've never dated an Asian girl. Not in school or dating app Lucky. I met my girlfriend through her friend and we went on a date and we just clicked. It's just the type of girls you met. You can find every kind of girl or a guy in this world. You just happen to stumble upon some girls who like white guys. But as an Asian girl myself, I love Asian guys and find myself pretty less attracted to white guys. So the point is it depends on your personal taste. Many guys may like to date only white girls. No black, no Asian or whatsoever. We can't generalize one's choices to a whole community or group. Might also be a bit of bias in that you only talk to single Asian women who are interested in white men. When I was in a long-term thing with a Thai girl, once in a conversation she and her friend brought up yellow fever. I reality checked them with white fever, and the discussion was over with the quickness. LMAO. I am an Asian guy married to a white woman. For me, it just happened. I used to date a girl of same ethnicity for 5 years before her. So there's that. Just wanted to put it out there. Race wasn't something that I was considering when dating. In fact, I think that considering race first is honestly kinda unhealthy. Mindset-wise. You date someone because you like someone, not because someone is some race. So yeah, people like me also exist. But anyways, back to the main topic. I feel like there's a fair amount of survivorship bias here. You are a white guy looking for women in Asia. What kind of women do you think you attract? Let me tell you, people who are into white guys. I think you just saw enough of these women and you are beginning to wonder the question. That all. To put it simple. Similar to some people having an Asian girl fantasies. Some Asian girls also have white guy fantasies. It's just as simple as that. Do all of Asian women really culturally, as a whole, believe that? Well, Look at their interracial marriage rates in their countries and I'd assume it paints a very different picture.
If you enjoyed this video, please check out our playlists full of similar content. TooAfraidToAsk is like doom scrolling for your ears. Please like, share, and subscribe.